I'm inviting you to a Minecraft convention all about data packs. I'll be joining more than 70 other data pack developers, artists, and map makers, building a booth to represent me and my projects on the biggest server event of the year. Come join me and see what our incredible community has to offer at Smith Summit. This is the schematic for the area around the plot that I've selected where my booth will be. Specifically, it's going to be this section right here on this cliff. The Summit world map is going to be huge, and you'll be able to explore all of the booths just by walking around on paths like these, or by riding in vehicles such as the trolley that's going to be running through this line right here. I participated in the Smith Summit back in 2024, and this year's promises to be even bigger. Last time my booth was just for my flagship data pack New in Town, but this year I want to represent this whole channel as basically my overarching project. Now, I have chosen a kind of awkward spot. As you can see, this cliff is at not even like a 45-degree angle. It's like a weird 33 or 25-degree angle. So definitely a little bit awkward. It's going to make planning the bulk of my booth's layout a little bit tough. Rather than trying to replicate the general angle of the cliff here with a weird, awkward block placement like this for the walls, or even trying to do a bunch of straight walls that have a lot of right corners to kind of fit in with the space a lot, which is going to create a lot of weird small walls, even if they are flat. I think I'm instead going to try and do some kind of an oval or ellipse type of build, something that can utilize, hopefully, the bulk of the footprint of the ground area of this plot space. There won't be still a lot of flat walls. This isn't a very good representation of the shape or position that I'm going for. There won't be a lot of flat walls for me to place things on, but I think it'll give me a lot more floor space to build various displays and include various displays in and on. After looking at some inspiration, I think I've found some nice reference images from Barse and from Shovel241 to build a sort of steampunk observatory, which I think will work well for this shape. So we'll have a nice kind of round elliptical first floor and second floor as well, possibly even a third, depending on how things kind of shape together. And then on top, I think it'd be nice to have a big sphere or dome of some kind that can serve as the observatory proper, not planetarium, but where the telescope is going to go. I'm not sure if that room has a specific name. Going for sort of a mix between steampunk and sort of magical or astronomical. I'm a little bit worried about the positioning of this tree for that. This is going to be a pretty tall structure, and the orb, the sphere on top, is probably going to be the main eye factor, the draw to have visitors come from the paths and visit the booth. And this tree definitely blocks some sight lines there. So I might talk to the Smith Summit staff about potentially moving this tree over or even removing the tree entirely, but I suspect that's going to come down a little bit to how it interacts with my neighbor's booth as well. They're off over there, and it's clear that this is kind of in their way as well. We can see, so for my booth, the intended entrance from the main path here is this kind of cobblestone right here of the deep slate and basalt. So that's going to take us probably right around to this face here as the front entrance. And so this tree kind of arcs over it in a bit of an awkward way in addition to blocking the sightlines. And it does much the same thing over here depending on how big this plot actually ends up being. So hopefully a compromise can be found there, but I'll wait to really mess with it until I actually build my structure, because maybe the issue isn't as significant as I think. Here is where I've landed for the completed build. I would say I'm pretty happy with the detail work that I've done here for the vast majority of it. I'm not super sold on the shading that I've tried to do for the sphere up here. It's not even really shading, it's just kind of texturing. I think it'll work pretty well. I think I'm probably just being a little bit hard on myself, but I'm just not super sure on it. I do think having the gold trim, the contrast with the steampunk copper that is being used throughout the entire building, and the telescope in particular, really help bring it together, which is making me feel a little more comfortable. As you can see, I have gone ahead and removed the tree, at least for my benefit for now, still in talks with the Smith Summit team and with my neighbor, the Stardust Showdown booth, to see if it's going to come back, if it's going to be moved or just shrunk. That'll probably come in the final build after myself and my neighbor have both submitted our booths for approval, but I imagine they're going to want to fill this space here with something, even if it's not a tree. Coming over to our front entrance, you can see I'm using shelves, stairs, and trapdoors to great degree in order to create a beautiful shape, and that is the case through a lot of the surroundings as well. A lot of stairs and slabs and use of both regular glass blocks and glass panes to create the shape that I want. And then as we step inside, we do admittedly lose that observatory idea some in favor of more of like a museum or gallery situation, but I think that's probably for the best because ultimately, that is what this booth interior, at least, is going to be. It is a gallery of many of my projects, and ultimately of the YouTube channel project as a whole. We have this beautiful open loft in the center to look down from the second floor, so we'll definitely want to fill this with something that makes use of the space. And then a staircase over here that takes us up to the second floor, where we have a little bit of a smaller footprint. Definitely a bit of a more restricted area size-wise for the various exhibits that we might place here. And then if we go up to the third floor as well, we get a little bit of a different experience. It's not quite as gallery-like because it mostly serves as the hallway and entrance into the planetarium/telescope room. The telescope I'm pretty proud of. As you can see, I've made it look like it is properly supported, even though it isn't necessarily able to like rotate or anything. And not only does the head, I think, look perfect from the outside, but the whole design coming down the inside really makes it look like a giant spyglass in the best way. And there's even a seat right here that has an interaction entity you can see the Axiom widget for that you can right-click on in order to sit in the chair and look up. The Smith Summit staff has provided a lot of shared assets in the form of not only a resource pack, but also a data pack library to help us make our booths and also to make the Smith Summit as a whole feel cohesive. So for example, all of these multicolored leaves that you see here are all just different block states of cherry leaves that have been made static and unable to change their block state, to change their age or distance or anything, so that we can get these beautiful leaves here. And there's a lot of stuff like that in the resource pack that's mostly for the Summit's benefit, but that I may take advantage of. The interaction is an example of something that is handled by the Smith Summit library rather than me having to duplicate efforts that will be shared across many other booths, so it's all done in the same way. And we'll likely make use of that a lot more as we build out the booth. Before we start planning the exhibits though, I'd like to think about what animated Java rigs I want to have represented in my booth. Obviously, I use animated Java a lot and have in the past for several of my projects, but I don't want it to be completely filled with animated Java stuff, especially because most of my channel and most of my projects are focused on the Worldgen. So I'm thinking probably the only animated Java rig that I will take from any of my previous projects will be the Fortress Matrix that I think will fit really well right here. It's the boss from the Fortress of War data pack, and it is absolutely gorgeous. The animations are some of my favorites that I've ever made, and I think it'll do a really good job filling this central space so that it looks awesome viewed from below as well as up here on the second floor. However, I do also want an animated Java rig somewhere on the outside to help draw people in, to draw people from hopefully far away to come and visit my booth. And I think a really fun way to do that might be to have a sort of marquee of my name or my logo floating and rotating around the globe of the observatory here. I already have the 3D model for my logo that I use on my channel banner, and so it should be pretty easy to just convert that to an animated Java rig in Blockbench as well, and move the letters around so that they are rotated around a circle so that I can apply a simple animation to make that rotate around here. Much like the Pizza Planet logo from Toy Story, or I think the Daily Planet from Superman as well often is represented in this way. It should be super trivial to transfer the animated Java rig for the Fortress Matrix over into this Summit data pack, so let's go ahead and do both of those and see how they turn out. I've had to turn off my shaders for probably the rest of this video for reasons I'll explain in a moment, but as you can see, the Fortress Matrix has been successfully imported and summoned in this booth. In order to save on data pack space as well as general, processing and tick power and everything, I'm only using the phase 1 animation, so I was able to completely eliminate the phase 2 animations, the spawn animations, the death animation, everything that I'm not using, as well as I think one of the attack animations I decided to get rid of. I've made it so the fortress matrix, although it looks good from any direction, is technically facing away from the entrance towards this Fortress of War logo over here, as this is where information about the Fortress of War data pack is going to be displayed. So it'll kind of face you as you're reading that information, even though it'll be facing away from you as you enter. And then the marquee, I think, turned out super awesome. These huge blocky letters spelling out Kanokarab, circling this cool planetarium globe, not blocking the telescope, which I think is important, but kind of, I think, helpfully obscuring my perhaps less than ideal texturing on the blue parts of the globe. It brings it all together and works really, really well. And this beautiful blue glow as well is awesome. Even if you don't necessarily know what it says, even if you don't recognize it from just one or a few letters, I think the huge size, the glowing, and the movement is probably going to help draw players over to want to see what it's all about. And this brightness, this glowing, is actually why I had to disable my shaders. As part of those shared Smith Summit assets that I mentioned before, we're able to define for particular models and faces not only if they are emissive, if they emit light, but also if they are immune to Minecraft's regular model shading that you can see, for example, being applied to my player model as I move around. My face gets darker and lighter depending on where I'm facing, and by using some vanilla shaders, we can make certain models exempt from that behavior so they always look nice and bright like this. And because those are vanilla shaders, they necessarily conflict with modded shaders like my complementary Unbound shaders, which means that if I had them on, all these logos would appear like a deep shade of blue because it happens to be the color index that's being used for representing that no shading effect. But I think this is okay for the video, especially because this is how most of you are probably going to see the booth when you come to visit on the Smith Summit server, which, if I didn't mention already, is already open and live. You can check for information on how to join in the description. Speaking of those logos, I've already kind of positioned them around the inside of the booth to represent where I expect specific exhibits to go. Obviously, we are a little bit tight on space, especially with the first floor's columns and the second floor's loft, but I think I can find some interesting ways to represent certainly things like New in Town and Dreckenkind Vault by having some of their item models kind of on podiums. We'll probably have some informational signs and things. And of course, the Fortress of War data pack already has the Fortress Matrix here to serve as its kind of display entity. What is going to be a little bit difficult is all of the Worldgen projects, things like the Overrealm, as well as the Wastes and Lunar Phase, Frostpale, and the Witch Realm. Some of the other Worldgen booths that are attending Smith Summit have a custom dimension that is being shared between them that players will be able to go to and visit to experience their respective Worldgen firsthand. But because I have so many Worldgen projects and because it's already pretty cramped, I didn't necessarily want to do that for mine. And it probably wouldn't even work for the Frostpale because of the custom textures that I use there. What I'm thinking might be cool is for each of these Worldgen projects, if we have some kind of like a box, not something thick like this, not something built, but rather a model. And then on the inside, you'll be able to step in and experience and look at screenshots of that world presented as a panorama view. Pretty much the same way that we have the panoramas on the title screen for when you open Minecraft. This is obviously a custom one that you can change with a resource pack, but we should be able to create a very similar effect, even though it will, of course, be lower resolution and not spinning in the actual world. I think this is going to be the best way to represent these projects, but it's going to be a little bit tough to get right because as part of Smith Summit, as part of those submission guidelines to ensure that everyone is able to submit their booths and everything is able to work together on the server, we're being asked to try to keep our resource pack size down to only 1 megabyte. We're far from it right now, but screenshots are going to be pretty big, especially for projects, screenshots of worlds from the Witch Realm, for example, that have really high contrast. Something like the Wastes or potentially even the Overrealm won't be too bad because the colors will be pretty close together, but when we have really high contrast, like purples and blacks, it could be a little bit difficult to maintain that size. Hopefully we'll be able to manage it though. I definitely want to give it a try because if I can get it right, this is going to be an incredibly unique way to represent Worldgen in a booth that is otherwise pretty self-contained. If you're enjoying the video, please remember to like and subscribe for more data pack, custom Worldgen, and structures content. Like I mentioned before, by the time this video comes out, Smith Summit is already underway, and you can find information in the description for how to join the server and explore everything that this community has to offer. Starting on the first floor, we can see the finished exhibits for things like Dragonkind Evolved and New in Town that have a few models from those respective data packs with some informational signs. I suspect they'll probably add some more to give kind of a general overview of the project, but at least for now they provide some information about specific aspects like the various items that you can find in them. For projects like the Overrealm, I'm really happy with these panorama boxes. They feel almost otherworldly, these awesome machines that are modeled with gears and pipes and things. They look very industrial, but then you walk inside and you experience this magical wonderland. I think even with the reduced resolution, the effect works really, really well to transport you somewhere else. To help maintain the illusion, I'm using some invisible blocks that are actually just some blocks that the Smith Summit team, as part of those shared assets, has turned invisible so that they can be used as barriers all across the summit. Hopefully they don't mind that I'm using them to make it so that you can only enter these panorama boxes from the actual entry into them, which I think will help people not get lost while they're inside in particular. We can come upstairs to the Ominous Mansions exhibit where we see some more items on display with specific information, as well as an Eye of Skulking, which will probably have information about it relegated to the general informational assign for this particular data pack. We of course have the panoramas for the 3 other projects, which are also missing some inspirational signs. And I've added this big Worldgen features tier list on the wall here, which has been updated to 26.2 to include both the template feature and the sequence feature. Or maybe it's vice versa, I don't remember. I think it's probably sequence over here, and then this right here is template just below fossil. That makes sense. We'll add some more interactive elements to this as well as all the other exhibits to provide more information or links about those respective projects, or in this case, about the features that can be found in those respective tiers, but that'll come up a little bit later, I think. We can fly up to the 3rd floor over here where we have a couple of other exhibits that I didn't plan before. I didn't like that this space was fully empty, so I did go ahead and add 2 more projects that didn't have exhibits represented lower. These 2 towers are from the Impenetrable Bases video that I did as a collab with Canadian, and it'll also have an informational sign talking about that. And then over here we have a small little setup for the Mine Actually video that didn't necessarily perform well, but that I'm nonetheless very proud of, and so I'd like more people to know about. I'm not sure what I'll fill the observatory room with, the telescope room with exactly. Probably some information about the other things that I do outside of my own channel, like being an official helper with Datapack Hub and stuff, but I'm not quite sure how I want to represent that thing yet. Datapack Hub, of course, also has a booth at Smith Summit that you'll be able to check out, but it'd still be nice to have a mention of them here, since that is a big part of what I do outside of my own channel. The Biome Strongholds exhibit was a tough one to crack. I wasn't quite sure how to represent what is ultimately a bunch of structures in such a small space. So as you can see, I just ended up making a little item model. This is all one item model of the bedrock portal frame with a bunch of the end portal frame blocks around it with their standard particles pointing towards it. Of course, these wouldn't be here if the portal was already lit, but I think they're an important part of the visual. I think this will also have some interactivity in addition to an informational sign to be able to change the platform here that's currently desert themed between a platform that is themed around each of the 8 types of biome strongholds. Now, before we get to adding those interactive and informational elements, I think it's time to head outside the booth. You may have noticed this archway out the side here, and you can see I've already added a little bit of a path that goes off the cliff here. While it did make building the booth a little bit more difficult, I chose this location on this weird cliff for a reason. I got permission from the event organizers to add a floating island stretching out from the cliff over what is going to be an ocean, represented currently by this light blue stained glass here, where I can add even more interactivity. Basically, my goal is that this floating island will have some kind of a control panel of some sort either on it or near it that will allow players to change the features that are on it, essentially participating in and doing Worldgen of a sort on the Smith Summit server on this little island. So they'll be able to change what type of surface it has, what trees or other like plant life it might have, flowers, grasses and things. I think that's just a really fun way to get people involved with and excited in the capabilities of Worldgen, and I hope that it's going to turn out really, really cool. I'm not sure exactly how I want to handle the controls. In theory, I'd like them on the island so that it's all kind of cohesive and together, but I worry that they would get in the way of the Worldgen features themselves. So I think we'll probably build the island first and get an idea of where the controls can go, and then I'll implement those. Let's start here with the floating island itself. As you can see, the top is currently made of stone, and that is just so that it's a kind of a nice neutral block for now. It's never actually going to be seen like this because, of course, the goal is that players are going to pretty frequently be changing what the top surface looks like. So this just gives us a base for us to start with as we're building. Underneath the island, I've decided to extend over the design they're using for the cliffs of this area over here so that they kind of fit together. I'm not sure if the plan is to have any kind of a boat passing through the water over here, but just in case, I wanted to make sure that this area looked nice. These blocks here aren't going to be changed by any of the Worldgen controls. It'll only be these top two layers, basically, what's covered by the stone. For the bridge, I decided to carry over the spruce planks that is being used pretty extensively by the build so far, at least on the outside, and I think that looks pretty good, but it was a little bit plain at first, so I also draped over these azalea leaves over the fences and down the sides, which I think do a lot to tie it all together, especially with the green, especially the mossy greens from the landscape over here. The controls I decided to place on a little bit of a deck out here directly out from this side path exit so that you step out, you can see the controls immediately, but especially you can see the floating island from them, which works really well and keeps the floating island clear for everything that we're going to have happen to it. All of these control panels are custom item models. Each group of 3 that you see here is a single different individual model so that we're saving on the number of entities that are here, even though these ones won't be ticking or anything. And I'm just using regular barrier blocks for the collision so that you can walk into and on top of them. All of these pieces, the grass block, the ferns, this log, and this big red button are all different models that you can right click with interaction entities, as you can see here, to be able to perform different actions with them. Right clicking or left clicking will cycle through a few preset options for things like the surface, the plants that'll appear on it. Let's go with maybe nether sprouts for this one. And then we can change the vegetation as well between a few different variants, some of which make sense for some of the available surfaces and some of which intentionally don't. And then we can go ahead and change this to maybe something like, let's do lunar salvage because it's a little bit different. And click generate, and that's going to change the entire surface of the floating island. And I think this looks so cool. The idea is to allow players to mix and match things that may not necessarily look good together to get an idea of the wide array of configurability that we have with Worldgen as they try to make something that they are personally satisfied with. So this actually looks pretty good, minus the lunar salvage maybe not necessarily making sense. Of course, my favorite is always going to be the forest variant that we can get to with some mixed trees. We can do a gnarled tree right here, generate that, and that's going to give us our pretty typical overrealm forest. In this particular instance, ended up being a little bit sparse, but that's okay because all of this is being placed by actual features, including the gnarled tree. So things like the regular trees and the ferns and things are going to change and vary each time you press that generate button. The template setting is the one that is perhaps the most fun to mess with. You can change between gnarled trees, the lost ruins here from the overrealm as well. And then we also have this fun balloon vendor template where you can come over and get yourself a Kanokura balloon. This is another feature being handled by the Smith Summit standard library, so we can make some custom balloons that get handled by the Smith Summit team and then set up little interaction entities like the one right here to be able to grab one for yourself. And you can store a whole bunch of them, you can hold them all at once. It's super adorable. None of that is working here in the single player world, so while I have the model, trying to right click the interaction isn't going to do anything, but that'll obviously work on the server to give you a little balloon of my head, which I think is super cute. Now let's come back inside and start planning how we want to make all of these various exhibits interactable. For most of them, it's just going to be some kind of a separate sign that talks about the data pack or project in general, and I'll just make that sign be able to right click to get a link to that video and the download pages if available, that's going to be pretty standard. I think as well on the tier list, like I mentioned before, like I alluded to at least, it'd be neat if you can right-click on each of these tiers to get information about the respective tier and the features that are on it, why those features are there, which features those symbols represent, so that you can understand how the whole tier list comes together. But of course, that'll also have a sign probably off over here that you can right-click to go to that video in specific. The main interactive element I'm thinking of that I haven't really alluded to already is I think it'd be cute if there was a mannequin of me right here outside the booth to kind of greet and invite visitors into the booth. Ideally, it'd be cool if it was almost indistinguishable from an actual player, so it's almost like you're talking to me directly. I'll have an interaction entity over the top so you can right-click him to make him say some dialogue. That's probably where I'll include like where I got the inspiration for the build here and things. And otherwise, they'll just generally introduce you to the booth before you go in and take a look at all the various things that I have exhibited here. All of those interactive elements are going to be handled in large part thanks to that Smith Summit library, so it should be pretty easy to implement everything, very similar to how I've already done for the controls down there. So the main fun part is going to be making that mannequin behave the way that I want. Welcome to my Smith Summit booth. Can you tell which one of us is real? This little guy turned out so cute. I love him so much. I've made it so that he kind of tries to, again, for one, behave similar to a player. Normally, he's just going to be kind of standing over here. As you can see, he'll occasionally sneak and unsneak, kind of like a real player would, but generally he's going to look off in that direction. And then as you get closer, that's when he starts to look at you, and he'll sneak a little bit more often if you are sneaking, and generally for longer periods of time as well. Again, really like he's like mimicking you, or at least mimicking a player, doing the normal like player sneaking to say hi routine. There's an interaction entity over him that we can right click, and in fact, as you can see, that's actually what is projecting the name tag up there. His hitbox is completely obscured, but we can go ahead and right click that, and he'll swing his arm, again, kind of mimicking like a real player as they're talking, and give you some dialogue and chat. Welcome you to the booth. As I said, this is where I included that I got the inspiration for the observatory from Barse and Shovel 241, and then he'll give you a little information about what you can expect as you go inside. This is also where, when you progress to this dialogue spot, he mentions that he'll give you a sticker. Stickers are another collectible, like the balloons, that the Smith Summit team is handling a lot of the behavior for, so that every booth can have up to 5 stickers that players can collect as they explore. I decided to implement 2, one for progressing to that dialogue point when talking to my mannequin out front, and one when you press the generate button over here on the floating island, to, again, just kind of incentivize players engaging with the Worldgen here. When you log on to the Smith Summit server, you'll have a physical sticker book in your hotbar that you'll be able to take a look at to see what stickers you've collected and what stickers you've still yet to find, so that you can go and explore all of those booths and see what all they have to offer. We can come on inside to see what all details we've added along with those interactions. We do have this sign here, which is not interactable, but does tell you you can interact with many of the other signs to get more information, specifically links, and also invites you to go visit the Worldgen Island outside. I added these player heads here that you can click to get links to my YouTube, Modrinth, and Discord respectively. And then, like I mentioned, we have the actual signposts themselves that, again, just give some general overview information that isn't as specific necessarily as any information that's on the models or things. And you can right click those to get links to the YouTube or download links on Modrinth or the Smith website. So you can start over here, learn about the biome strongholds, maybe click the link to go and check out the playlist that's there, and then mess around with the biome strongholds display here to change between a few of the different platforms before moving over to learn about the Fortress of War and see what this Fortress Matrix is all about by clicking this link. All of these links do get sent into the chat, and technically, because this is a multiplayer server and probably going to be a crowded one, the chat is likely to get full pretty quickly, so it is very distinctly possible that players may have a little difficulty actually clicking on these links. But my suspicion is that most players probably aren't going to be interested in clicking them anyway, because they're going to want to actually continue to explore the server. This is just presented as an option for those that may want to check things out later. And for them, pressing T and scrolling up in the chat isn't a problem at all, especially since we have these nice green lines and the center text to help stand apart from regular chatters. The tier list interactions are what I'm particularly proud of. If we turn on hitboxes again, you'll see that we have these nice long interactions covering the entirety of each of the respective tiers, each of which you can right-click to see not only which features appear here in the order that they appear, but also why features are placed in that tier in general. However, if you know anything about interactions, then you know that they can't be wider than they are long. So if we come outside, then we'll see that that is in fact not the case. They are in fact as wide as they are long, and there's just a bunch of the interaction that is outside of the booth. Players are going to be in adventure mode while they're on the server, so there shouldn't be any way that they're able to reach these interactions, nor would it be a problem if they could, because they don't really do anything besides provide some information that you'll be lacking the context for unless you're inside to be able to click on them the normal way. In the telescope room, like I mentioned, I decided to include some information about Datapack Hub, even though they're going to have their own booth that you'll be able to see, just to talk about my role and what I do there and what I've contributed there. And of course, you can click that to get a link to the Datapack Hub website, which has links to my various resources that I created for them, as well as the Discord itself. And speaking of which, I would definitely call this booth complete, so it's time to submit it for approval and log on to the server to explore everything that Smith Summit has to offer. And appropriately, Smith Summit starts at the summit of this giant mountain we can't even see, but if we start to peek our head over, we'll be able to get a glimpse of all three of the regions that make up the summit island. When you join, you'll get a short tutorial with a few screens to inform you about the three regions and how to start exploring the various shards that make up the full server network of Smith Summit, and there's a couple of nice signs and maps to help direct you to wherever it is you want to go. My booth is located in the Patched Plateaus. We can see right here that currently we're at the top of the mountain, but we can go ahead and take this beautiful gondola station down to the ground and make our way over to the KNO booth. So let's hop in. Many of the vehicles that are a part of Smith Summit were created using animated Java, but they're using a lot more sophisticated datapack technology than that. Obviously, I'm sitting on an entity, what I suspect is an interaction entity, and as we're moving down this path, I'm sure there are lots of markers in addition to all the various item displays that are making up all of these ropes that get animated as we move down the mountain. We can already see my beautiful observatory down there, though at this distance, the marquee entity isn't able to render. That should start to show up as we get a little lower down to the ground. These signs are all over Smith Summit so that you'll never get lost as you're figuring out what paths to take and how to explore not only all of the booths, but find your way to a specific booth. We are currently here at the gondola station, so we're just going to head down these stairs and we should be able to cross the trolley line over to my booth plot. I've got my sticker book as well that I can take a look at to see all of the booths that I haven't visited yet and how to get all the stickers for them. We can take a look over at my booth right here and see that I've got my 2 stickers that I need to go unlock. I do plan to explore everything that Smith Summit has to offer, but first I want to make sure that everything at my booth is looking and working correctly, and already we can now see that the giant Kanokarov marquee has loaded into render distance, and I think this just looks so nice. Nothing in the area has something like this, and so while it's not a competition, I'm really happy with how well this kind of draws your eye. Let's go ahead and cross the trolley tracks, make sure there isn't a trolley coming, and then we can head over and say hello to the Kanokarov mannequin. Let's go ahead and get our sticker. Of course, we've already talked to Kanokarov back in the build world. We can see my stickers unlocked there, and if I open up quickly enough, then I'll go straight to the page where that sticker got unlocked, and we can see the Kanokarov sticker right in there. Let's go inside and make sure the animated Java rig is animating correctly. We're getting the particles, we're getting the sounds, everything there is perfect. Got all the clickable links here, which of course are a little bit different with my chat scale that I have here on the server, and the Biome Strongholds particles are all loading correctly as well. Let's head out to the Worldgen Island controls and see. This looks like it's probably the default island. I don't think anyone has messed with it yet. So just to mess around, we'll go ahead and change this to desert. Let's do dry grasses and some cacti. And then I think I'll go ahead and do the balloon vendor because I definitely want to get my balloon as we press the generate button and get that Worldgen expert sticker. Let's go get the balloon before somebody changes this. Oh no, it got messed up. Well, when you're launching a server of this size with this many data packs and resource packs all combining together, some things are bound to get broken, and it looks like right now the balloon models have been a little bit messed up. This isn't surprising given how everything has been merged together and all the parent models that are involved with making these work and work in the way that they need to so that you can hold multiple at a time. So this is something that they are currently investigating and I'm sure will be fixed momentarily. For now, I definitely want to check out a few more specific booths before I let myself loose upon the entire Smith Summit. Let's go ahead and make our way over to Nice Name's Geologic Timeline booth. The Geologic Timeline booth, I believe, is just over here. Yes, so we can see, yep, Nice Name right over here. Let's take a seat and see what this is all about. Go ahead and right click on this. And it looks like I've been equipped with a VR headset. Very cute. This is super cute. Oh, and there's the little Nice Name. Oh, and the little animated rabbit. Oh my goodness, this is so cute. Well, I'm not sure if this is the full show yet, and I definitely would like to see it from the beginning, so I think I will plan on coming back here a little bit later. Oh. Look, I'm Nice Name. Now let's see. I want to find a map and see what else is here in the Patch Plateaus. Here we go. Oh, the Data Pack Hub booth is over in the Cherry Hills. Let's definitely go check that out. Looks like it's just over there on the other side of the bridge. I'm over here, so if I just go up these stairs, it should be easy to get to. Yes, there's the beautiful Data Pack Hub package. Got the Data Pack Hub sticker. Let's see what else we can get here. Oh, we can get a sticker for petting the pets. That's fun. Oh, that's fun. We have a little mannequin representing the bot that runs all the helper threads for when people ask questions. I love that. Cobble here for the admin along with Syllabear. Oh, here's the pets we can pet to get our sticker. One of the best emojis that we have in the Data Pack Hub Discord. Here's the event hall where we just were for the opening ceremony. Oh, and we can go in and see the schedule for all the various events. Uni is doing an intermediate guide to advanced density functions. I'll definitely want to make sure to attend that on Thursday. My panel on advanced jigsaw structures is happening on Sunday. If you're a fan of my videos, most of the stuff I'll be talking about there will be review, but I do still recommend joining so that you can see me talk about things in what I hope is going to be a very fun context. Oh, and looks like somebody's doing a panel on creating custom dimensions. Obviously, I already know how to do that, but I think that'll still be really fun to attend and see how other people go about their creative process. As you can see, there are a bunch of events ongoing in the form of panels and playtest sessions and just general meet and greets that you can participate in throughout the entire 2-week Smith Summit. Now let's see if we can make it to the hot air balloon in time. We've got the Modern booth over here. Oh, there's the hot air balloon. Great. I'll need to come back and check out all these booths, but I want to wait until the balloons are fixed so that I can really get the full experience from them. Looks like we've got about a minute before the balloon departs to the Welded Woodlands. Oh, and we're off! Once again, this hot air balloon is being handled by Animated Java, so while it might be hard to tell, there's some very gentle rocking of these baskets as you move across. And you can see it's also increased my third-person view distance, the camera distance, so I can see much more of not only the balloon, but the patched plateaus below me as we make our way over the mountain and into the Welded Woodlands. Pretty soon here we should start to be able to see some of the other entities and animated Java rigs that are making up a lot of the booths here in this particular region. I see the Omega Flowey booth down there that's got the big old TV screen. All these little bird item displays that we have flapping around, sitting on the ground that fly away as you walk up to them is so cute. I definitely want to go check out all of the other Worldgen booths. Pretty much have all kind of centered around in the ginkgo columns here in the Welded Woodlands. So let's just head over there. It looks like that's this entire, what I think is the north region of the map. So let's head that way and see what all the other Worldgen devs have been up to. Oh, what is this? Oh, this is so cute. A little zip line across. There are also lots of posters spread all throughout Summit, some for booths that are present here at Smith Summit and some for other projects. The Clifftonic Factory. What do we got in here? Oh, this is so cute. Battery acid. Oh, you can drink it. Don't try this at home. Some copper golems hard at work in the factory, seems like. Oh, hello. Jimothy. Nothing in the factory is working. Well, right now I'm just here for the sticker. Oh my gosh, there's so much to do with the Clifftonic Factory. Wow, this is This is so cool. This is massive. I love this so much. So I'm pretty sure that this booth is primarily for Cliff Tree by Conchi, but it sounds like from the name that it might be kind of in tandem with Apollo's Tectonic as well. And then, we can head over to Stardust Labs, where we've got my good friend Catter here. But Stardust Labs, of course, is responsible not only for Incendium, but also Terralith, Nullscape, and they are a great community for Worldgen devs to get together, whether you are just getting into it or starting to explore more advanced features like density functions. This must be Stardust Labs. Oh, that's really cool. It's a panorama similar to what I'm doing. Fun. So that'll take you down into the Worldgen dimension, seems like. Oh. Well, let's see. Let's find a map and figure out how we can get to the textured tropics from here best. I don't think it's a boat from this direction. So let's see. We've got gondolas. Oh, that's right. It's a minecart. And we should be pretty close. It should just be over this way to get to the minecart station. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Oh, it's departing any moment. Get in. Okay. Phew. We should be able to take the minecart station over to the textured tropics. Looks like it's departing in 3, 2, 1. Let's head over to the textured tropics. Oh my gosh, the animations on these minecarts are beautiful. The way that it melds and kind of morphs with the minecart track. This is so cool. Oh, what is that? Some cool gemstones. Oh, that was such a short ride. Oh, I could have ridden on that for 2 more minutes. All right, well, let's go ahead and find our way. Okay, there's a map. So if we hop over here, let's see, we are right there. And Animated Java, is right there with the giant flossing armor stand. Let's head over there right now. Welcome to Animated Java, a Blockbench plugin for creating animated models. Yeah, I've said it a few times now, but Animated Java is truly powering Smith Summit at this point. Almost every booth is using some manner of an Animated Java rig, including myself. It is such a powerful and important tool. All of these rigs are so well done. I'm sure by a combination of Snave, Zelafella, and probably some others, though I think they were doing the bulk of the work. Interact with NPCs. I don't want to get a job right now. I think I just want to check things out. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so it's like this is like a tracker, this is like a factory, and you can put together animated Java rigs. Oh wow. This is so cool and involved. I love it. Oh, this is cool. Yeah. I've got a little bit of a sneak peek at this. These, if you maybe don't recognize them, are rock climbing holds. If we walk up to here, we can go ahead and start climbing. Let's climb up here. So from the textured tropics, I've checked out all the booths that I wanted to right away. So let's go ahead and I think head over to the stage down there. Looks like if we follow these bridges around, we should be able to take a path straight there. And here is the Textured Tropics event stage. This is where you'll be able to come see me on Sunday, August 16th to deliver my Advanced Jigsaw Techniques panel. It's going to be super duper fun. We'll have a whole PowerPoint presentation on the screen there. I'm planning on having some structures get generated on the stage so you can kind of see some physical examples of how jigsaw blocks interact with one another. And I have what I hope is going to be a very fun theme to wrap the whole thing in. Remember to check out everything that Smith Summit has to offer. My booth, the Animated Java booth, all 70 booths that are represented here on the Smith Summit server over the next 2 weeks. And attend as many events as you can, as many panels as you can. I know I sure will be. Remember to like and subscribe for more DataPack, custom Worldgen, and structures content. Check the link in the description to learn how to join Smith Summit and participate and attend all of the events and panels that will be ongoing over the next 2 weeks. And finally, to support the channel and participate in NPC fights at the end of every video like this one, please consider joining my Patreon. Congratulations to today's winner, Mchmoo, and thanks for watching!